Uh-huh.
Hello, my name is Caley Rose, and this is How to Get Into Voiceover. My guest today is Gaby Gold. Gaby Gold is a native New Yorker who has voiced over 70 voiceover projects, ranging from educational manuals to McDonald's commercials. Her favorite use of her voice comes from singing to kids and songwriting. I'm going to ask her about her incredible character, Helga. Get ready for it. This is Gaby Gold. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kaylee. It's been too long. We go way
know.
back. We spent
Friends.
a lot of time in waiting areas outside of auditions and singing together in New York City. I sang backup in amazing shows, The Bitter
I
End.
remember that.
Yeah, just we go really way back, and you've helped me.
That means a lot. Okay, so I need to share the very first story of meeting you, which I think I've told you. Have I told you?
Remind me.
How this always stands out to me because I met you, of course, as you said, in the waiting area of Studio Center, the agent that we were working with in New York. It was my very first voiceover agent. And the energy that you entered the waiting room with will never leave my mind because you were so welcoming and so completely unthreatened. Because I'm sure there have been times where you and I have gone out for the same things. We both have energy and life to our voice, and we can sound, younger depending on how you listen to it. But you were just so welcoming and so loving, and your light shone so brightly. I think I remember I thought like you were like 25 years younger, like because you're just so vibrant, and that's what age is, right? It's a feeling and an energy. But your ability to not be threatened by someone else, entering the scene like a new kid on the block was just outstanding to me because I was definitely at a place where I was a little bit threatened and scared. And I think that's like such an admirable quality. How did you get to be the person that you are and the confident human that you are?
Okay. Thank you so much. I really, no, that is so heartfelt. And
I mean it.
that whenever that's reflected back to me, it means also that the person possesses the same thing. So thank you for sharing that. And I think, yeah, you were very disarming and just very like, hi. And I remember we had very deep and fun conversations about singing and musical theater and how, we were venturing into this voiceover world. I don't know time wise if we were like at the same time, but also just like we were right there on 42nd Street, which also, even though I grew up in the city, can be intimidating and, big time equipment, big time gigs and jobs. And, I think if anyone comes to it like with their defenses up, they're not going to be authentic. So I think it was great that both of us already had that approach where we're like, hi. And it seemed to be a place where it just drew people that were just authentic and down to earth. So energy of that space, and also just you seemed so open. I think that growing up literally in Greenwich Village in the 70s.
Connecticut or in New York, New York?
Yes. So Manhattan, Greenwich Village, 12th Street and Broadway, across from the Strand Bookstore near Union Square. My entire life, true Manhattanite. Whoop, whoop. And that was like all arts, the arts, hippie, artsy. Everywhere you walked, there were artists' booths, and my parents were very involved in the arts. So I think I just had that, everybody's an artist and everybody's cool and no one's competing with each other and every type of art is cool. So there wasn't, and I think today it's actually serving kids in a good way now, that kind of competitive art stuff, which we can talk about because like something like the, internet is the scourge of humanity. But remind me to put a pin in this. I went to a talent show. My son is in 7th grade, and I went to the 6th grade talent show last year. I was blown away because these kids were singing like a 4-minute Adele song, standing in their lemons with a cami. And I'm like, I wouldn't have done that, but they studied the internet when they were on lockdown, and they're like, I can do that. So the assumption that they have, which might be driven by some competition type of thing where they're like, I can do it. But when we were doing it, it was like peace, love, understanding, even though it was in the 60s. So I think that that's kind of where I'm like, oh, you're auditioning. I don't know. Are we up for the same thing? If we are, great. If not, great. So I think it came from that very like free, wheeling, we're all artists spirit.
I think it comes from a deep, deep, deep confidence. You were unthreatened and you were just like, if this job is meant for me, it's great. If it's meant for you, it's great. Everything works out in the end. Everyone has luck. Everyone has a good life, not to get spiritual, but that's a beautiful thing to believe if you believe it. And it's unthreatened and helpful and safe. And I'm sure that helps you get even more things, I need to angle my mic down. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
No, I don't have one right now. I think it's
like I've never done voiceover.
Yo, we're newbies. But that's good. Keep it fresh. we keep it green.
We keep it
And
fresh.
you know, my mom is also a former performer, and I saw her actually suffer. Like she wouldn't mind me saying she kind of took
Mm.
everything personally. I'm like, I'm not gonna be like that. I gotta let it roll off a duck's back, you know. And
Wow.
she had a reason. She's different personality, and you know,
Yeah.
she came to New York. She came from Pennsylvania. It was a different thing for me.
For
I'm like,
pressure.
I had it easier. I was born already here. I
Yeah.
just like we're good.
Wow, that's incredible that you observed that, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges is taking the rejection. And, I know it's hard because certain jobs especially will come in and you're like, "I want this," like it might not be, I don't know, the medical jargon that comes in sometimes. I'm like, "I can live without this."
Supercalifragilistic. What? I
Yeah,
know.
but when it's like a Disney, series, I'm like, "Oh, I would love this character." It's hard not to get precious about it. So that's such a beautiful trait that you have that keeps you in the game, because it is quantity over quality sometimes.
It
How
really is.
many auditions are you doing? Of course, it's quality too, and that's very important, but you
But no,
gotta keep swinging and swinging and swinging.
swinging that bat and showing up
Yeah,
fresh, like we're saying, like each time,
yeah,
and really be giving spirit because you never know who's going to recommend you for something else.
yeah. Have you ever been, I don't know, because now I am like keying into part of what makes you so magical is that beautiful, calm energy and that spirit. So yeah, have you ever gotten super down about jobs, or has it always been from the get-go, what I get is great and I'm thankful to be here?
I think maybe for some musicals, I think in college I wasn't cast in something, like, I wasn't cast in Grease or something, and I remember being
Wow.
like, "Excuse me?" It was like a student-run production, and I was like I got very New York, production. I was a student-run production, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what? How am I
Yeah.
not so?" I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So that was one time where it seemed personal and political, and I'm like, "I don't think so." So I
And that's
wasn't
the
able
key
to be like, "Well,
sometimes.
she's gonna do a great job as Rizzo."
Mhm.
It was, I think, more in the musical theater where it's your whole body. Not that voiceover isn't your whole body.
Yeah.
I remember it is more your body. What does your body look like in musical theater? It is a
Yeah.
type. Here we we could almost have a bag over our head with cut out, okay? A face for radio, but, you know what I'm saying? It is
So
a
much.
little more of the whole self when you're doing
Yeah.
musicals, as you know, so I remember being like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong with this?" So
Yeah.
it feels a little more personal sometimes where I would
I
get that,
get you.
"What's wrong with my type?"
I get you.
You know?
Absolutely. Okay, let's rewind to the beginning. How did you get into voiceover? Was Studio Center your first agent? Because that's where we met in New York.
Man, yes, it was. They were.
Uh,
So I think someone introduced me to a man who made voiceover demos. He owned
mm,
a beach cafe. I cannot remember his name. God bless. I think David was his name. He had a
sure.
studio in his apartment, and
Uh,
he just made me a demo. And then I think I saw Studio Center on like Craigslist or something,
mm.
and they had me come in. So I
Huh.
wound up, meeting our good friends there, and I
Yeah.
wound up with so many with them, and it was a really amazing experience because, as you know, you could go in, and then 3 hours later you go back, and then 4 hours later you go back, and then you go back and back, and I did some. I think two of my most fun spots were B&H Photo because it was
Ah,
character work. I did a lot of
yeah.
character work there. That was for me
I
some of
think
the
that
most
might be
fun.
the one. I have to ask him. Oh my gosh, what was his name? I can't think of it. He has the amazing hair and he was at Studio Center.
Oh, talent. Oh,
Tommy Pruitt.
Pruitt with
I think it
fabulous
was
hair.
I think it was a B&H spot because they had, like, those character spots, and I remember he went in, and his character was supposed to be eating something, and he came in with a ton of crackers, and that blew my mind. I was just like, "Wait, you're allowed
I
to
know, I
eat
know.
actual food while pretending to eat" like, yes, of course, it's voiceover. Put some food
Right,
in your mouth.
right. You're like, you mean I don't have to, like, mime it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that place had just the best characters, the best
Yeah,
peeps, best
yeah.
energy. How did you find your way there?
It's so funny. So yeah, that's why I was like, I've never heard this story of yours. I got it in my mind. I wanted to be a Disney princess, and people said that I could. And so when it's paired with something that you want and something people say that you sound like you could do,
Yes.
your mind starts to think, "Why not me?" Which is kind of like what you said about those kids. I like that attitude of like, "Hey, I can do that. I can get that skill, learn that thing." So I think that's so valuable. And so by having that mindset, I put together this terrible garage band demo of like me watching a commercial on TV, finding a script online, reading it into probably my internal mic, which now we both know is terrible for voiceover, and you would never do that. And then hobbled together in GarageBand this demo, quote unquote, and sent it around. And yeah, they brought me in. It felt like truly out of the blue, whatever you believe in, giving me quite a gift in life, because it set me off on this incredible path to
And it
know
was a
you.
place to be very prolific because they had so many jobs, and they were
Yes.
an in-house production house. So they would write the
Yes.
copy, they would produce the music, they
Yeah.
were soup to nuts, which is a
Yeah.
rarity.
Absolutely. I still work with them. I don't know if you do, but we did Purina
Oh,
last week. Yeah. No, that's okay.
well,
Every once in a while, union spots in that way, which is interesting.
oh, that's
But
great.
yeah, and then, you might graduate to something else. So now, Gabby and I are with different New York agents, and that's where we are.
And
That's
you
so
introduced me
funny.
to my agent right now.
Yeah.
You
So
did.
that's a good point, because that's one of my, I think, people's biggest question is, how do you get into voiceover? How do you get an agent? So you initially found Studio Center on Craigslist, just to review that. And then the way you got with Access was me being with Access, who I got from Tommy Pruitt. So it's all about being a good person, being a talent, and being reliable, right? Would
Yes.
you say that?
Yes, and the window has to be open because,
Yeah.
they have to be looking for your type and be open at
Mm.
that time. And, I think you should have a certain body of work or a demo, and good for you for putting the demo together, because you know what? Sometimes that's all it takes is the gumption, and you were able to hear people saying it to you. You weren't like, no, I
Yeah.
can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Enough people were saying it to you that you were able to listen and hear and make it happen. So yeah, I think I was lucky enough that at the time it was Chaz and Linda,
Mm.
and
Mm.
at Access, and they opened that door, which also helped as a mom. I wasn't
Yeah.
running around as much, and you can do a little bit more from home. But now also, as you know, most of the auditions are from home, which I know
Yeah.
serves you really well.
Yeah.
So, and me as well, because I live about 40 minutes north of New York City right now. I actually came on with a handshake. I never signed anything. I
Me
came on with
too.
a handshake, and I'm loyal. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere else because
Yeah.
you believed in me.
So yeah, that's another thing to point out. When Gabby and I first met, it was much more an in-person industry.
Oh yes.
It was entirely an in-person industry. And now it's gotten more and more remote, more and more
Yes.
to the home studio where you need everything on your own. And
Yes.
COVID took it from, I don't know, 80% to 100%, which is, I miss the good old days, but this is where we are. And I also want to point out that, and I want to talk to you about this, I don't think that hobbling together a GarageBand demo on a terrible microphone is going to sell you to an agent these days. I think that was a real rarity for me. Have you experienced that too with demos?
Yes, I mean, I've actually helped quite a few people make demos, but we would go
Mm.
to a studio on 30th Street, and we had copy that was legit and, put together with
Uh,
mixing and good music. I haven't done this in a while. It was definitely
uh,
pre-COVID, but help
uh,
people put together something where I'd say to them, "Hey, listen to who you sound like. Let's make an arc in this. Let's start, maybe a little bit low energy and bring it to, a high note, and then end with something like a little bit of a bang, but let's
ah,
tell a story, and let's have you think of who you sound like, and I'll coach you." And
uh,
it has to be like, people can make higher quality now, so it is going to
yeah.
be
That's what you're
expected.
competing with.
That,
Absolutely.
that's right.
I
So
didn't know
it's,
you were coaching in that way. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
I had been for a while. It was
Uh,
also with just like a lot of friends who are like, "How did you do it? How did you do it?" I'm like, "I'll help you out." You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I didn't get paid, but
No.
I would help people out
As you
that
should. It's your time.
it's very big and daunting to them often.
Mm.
How did I do this? How did you get into it? As you know, as you
Yeah.
are, I know you're working a lot on
Yeah.
helping people break into this world, and everyone
Yeah.
has to offer. Everyone has a unique voice, obviously, but
Yeah.
everyone doesn't know they have to take care of their voice, which I'd like to
Mhm.
do later about voice, lessons
Let's
and
get into it.
everything. Well, so with me, when I was teaching middle school, I did do a lot of raising my voice, damaging my
Mm.
voice, kind of having to get very loud, because if you've
Yeah.
got 28 or 30 students, often some of them did not want to be there. I was teaching theater, and they were forced. So I know a lot of kids got a lot out of it,
Yeah.
but the kids that did not want to be there, they're going to be distracted. You're going to do a lot of redirecting,
Mhm.
particularly seventh grade. And my son, as I mentioned, is in seventh grade, and
Yes,
God bless.
thanks.
But I was really damaging my voice. So I did a lot of work with my ENT, and, a voice, like more of a medical voice coach. But
Ah,
now I'm working with a singing teacher, and my voice has come so far in like 15 lessons. His name
Huh?
is Hugo. Well, because he's helping me find my authentic voice, and I even vocalizing, I was punching it, punching, and he's
Mm.
like, you're putting a lot of salt on the steak. He's like, we just want to
Mm.
taste the steak. It was just like a lot of musical theater habits of a lot
Yeah,
of
you feel like you have to be big and push.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so my voice is changing, and I think I was pushing for more of that elderly, older middle age, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, we're not fully there yet," even though on paper I might be, but
Yeah.
I'm noticing a lot of positive changes. But as I'm doing that, I'm in a lot of pain, a lot of pain.
Ah,
It's
wow.
leaving my body. I have, like, TMJ and the TMD really,
Wow.
and the grinding and the holding and the so it's like a process,
Yeah.
but I'm trusting it and it's happening and my singing is transforming.
Do you
So
get massages?
I get cranial sacral. He's gonna start doing acupuncture, and I looked into
Uh,
Botox. It's like $1,000 to $1,800 to get Botox in your jaw, and it's not.
really? I'm like, "Oh, because in your forehead, it's only like 300." I mean, I don't know. What are you talking about? I'm just kidding. I truly am very
Heard.
open.
I've heard about it, like
Yeah.
controlled substances. I've heard
I've
about it.
heard it's 340 if you go every 3 months. Well, what?
How many units? Excuse me, where you go? But I mean, I would
But that's
invest
so
in that.
much.
The thing is, you have to keep going back. So
Now
I'm
you're making
trying.
me wanna stretch my jaw.
Well, there's a like, you could do like a lot of
Yeah.
this, and what's good is the rice pack that you put in the microwave.
Huh.
Put it those heat things for your neck at night. It affects your temples, and
Woo.
it's all down your neck. So I think I'm just letting
Yeah.
go of a lot, and it's helping my voice. I'm singing much more authentically and less
Huh.
like ah. So it's a big change, but it's
I
helping
get you.
my life. It's helping my voice. I don't know. They're sending me out on younger stuff, if that means anything. Just
I
less.
don't think you need to sound middle-aged. I mean, I know I'm not a casting director, but I don't think that you sound authentically middle-aged in that way, you know? You've always sounded young and you've always had the young energy. So I think you're still believably like a voice of 30, right?
Thank you. Well, I was
Yeah.
not being sent out. I was definitely raspy, and more like, just more characterly. Cha. I taught like 240, kids, like 7 classes a day and sometimes
Oh
after
my
school.
goodness.
Ooh, so
Wow.
I directed a lot of shows and I did these wonderful public speaking things, but like now having a 13-year-old, like he's just that's all I need to focus on. I'll direct,
Yeah.
so having
Direct him.
preserving this is like my instrument, and let's just
Yeah.
healthy.
And keeping it healthy. That's incredible. I also want to know, I mean, you seem to go seamlessly into characters so much. How did you get so skilled at doing these animated cartoon character voices?
Oh my gosh.
Was it
So
studying cartoons and other people? Was it just trying things out in the safety of being by yourself?
love that question. So one thing I did was grow up watching cartoons. Okay. So
Ah,
My brother Max and I, cartoons were a big deal, tons of
mm,
cartoons. Another thing was I watched Rich Little. Rich Little was like an impressionist,
okay.
an incredible voice actor. And I remember watching him at my grandparents' house and being like, okay, this is phenomenal. And I got it. Like I was little, but I was like, I want to do that. That is
Ah,
what I want to do. And I also just was always into sound effects, and I was really into beatboxing. Like, I
ah,
didn't do it, but I grew up on old school hip hop and rap, and I
mm,
was like, "This is crazy what these people are doing. This is bonkers." So I just had respect for what people could do, vocally, and I grew up watching a lot of Saturday Night Live, a lot of Eddie Murphy. I watched comedians that I found just like what they could do in transforming their voices, and just like the Madeline Kahn
mm.
did incredible things with their voices. I just was really in awe of. And then again, I'll always go back to growing up in the village. Just these characters. There's a guy named Earl the Pearl. Like, I just was always around colorful characters. My grandparents, Blanche Murray. I mean, you can't make this up. Blanche was like, literally was like this. Hello, darling. How are you? Like all the time. Like this wasn't a character. This was my grandma. So,
Oh.
you're around that and just like, and the other thing, very, very important, is I went to the United Nations International School. So my friends were from Guam and Costa Rica and Mozambique. So they had accents. I'd go to their homes. I'd hear their native languages. I'd hear their parents speaking in fluent English, but with an accent. So I was really taken with that. And in second, we spoke French from kindergarten, which they're starting to do more of in school, starting languages in kindergarten. And I showed proficiency. So from second to fifth grade, I was put in an immersion class with all the French kids.
Oh my goodness.
Anything, but I would raise my hand and say like, "Oui, je comprends," and then like I missed all the math. All the other classes thought we were snobs. I'm like, but I'm not a snob.
It's funny, you know, when you go back and you travel, you're just like, oh, I don't speak it, and then all of a sudden it just is in there. So if it's in there, do you list that on your resume?
I list conversational.
And
then Spanish came.
Yeah, I bet you could be fluent.
Someday.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's the immersion plus the practice plus the interest, right? It's like you got your 10,000 hours in accents and in characters.
Yes. Just observing, just growing up in New York City, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Like you're surrounded on the train, and I worked in 1,000,000,001 restaurants. With both the people that come there and everyone you work with. I mean, I have a million stories about, you know, nicknames that the other servers and kitchen guys had for me. I was a concierge. I had 75
concierge.
Yes, Caley, I had 8 million lives already in my life. I was a concierge for 3 years. When I came back from doing 3 years of theater on the border of Illinois and Iowa, from 1996 to 99, I did 9 shows. I went to do 1 show and then I dropped off the face of the earth and stayed there for 2 years. So I came back and I became a concierge, and I was a total imposter because I knew nothing about New York, and I somehow got hired at the Omni Burger. I was talking beep because I didn't know anything. I'd be like, "Yeah, go to that restaurant." I didn't know anything. I was so
You grew up there. You knew more than most, you know?
Fast, hip things.
To be able to take on those personalities. And it's also a fearlessness. Like, I realize, you know, just when you're alone in your car, how much you can practice weird things that you might not feel comfortable to do either, you know? So it's that confidence and everything that you have.
I'm going to throw it back at you because you have it. You're like, yo, let me get up at the bitter end and do my songs, everybody, with backup singers. And let me teach myself how to play the keyboard again. Wait, I do have to do a side note. Can you please tell us again how you were like, I played piano for 1 day when I was 7. And I just and start a message.
Oh man, I wish. I wish.
Write your pop songs. Like, I do want, can we please do a side note?
Yeah. That's why I'm like, we can talk about anything. No, it's so funny because I wish I was better at piano. You know, I just I'm like mostly block chords, but then I went to this teacher who actually just posted his podcast interview, Walter Jones, and he broke it down. Like, it was almost like he was musical directing my songs. Like, he was like, okay, instead of playing, you know, the root chord here, it always sounds cooler if you play the, what is it, 4 or something like that. I don't even know the terminology. It's terrible. And so he would come up with different ways for me to play it. And then I just practiced the heck out of it. But I wish that I was one of those people who could just sit down and have these kind of fingers. If anyone's listening to the podcast, waggling, quick moving fingers across the keyboard, because if I miss one note, it throws me off because I'm so practiced, you know? But I appreciate that.
Time is a huge challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, singer has always been there, you know, and I've been so thankful. But I look back on, so Gaby performed as a backup singer for me when I was in New York, performing at the bitter end, where Lady Gaga and so many other incredible people have played. And it was the sweetest thing ever because I did not know what I was doing. It was like, I don't know, sing whatever, wherever. Like, I could have been a much more helpful musical director in that sense.
You were fearless.
That's kind. Don't you look back and you're like, yeah, I must have been, because I would cringe at what that, you know, that music I never felt connected to because I wasn't songwriting at the time. And now that I'm creating my own stuff, it's like, this is my heart. But you have to make those mistakes to learn, I guess, even though you look back on it and cringe, right?
It can be very cringeworthy. Because it helped you realize, okay, this isn't my heart. And you had to do that. And even though it was like a venue, right, that's very well respected, and you made it, you were fearless, and it made you feel, okay, well, and then you were able to fill that and find that missing link.
Thank you.
So great. But I do wanna hear, so how did you pick up the keyboard again?
I have to thank a friend of mine, Kyle James, because sheet music was always, I could read it and I could play it, but it would take such a long, laborious amount of time. And I remember I was studying with Demi Lovato's younger sister, and she had this like big showcase that she was doing for all her students. And I was performing Gravity by Sarah Bareilles.
Mm,
And I practiced every night so long. I really did for months, and it just wasn't there. So that's how bad I was at sheet music. We both were like, this is not ready. And
wow.
it's not for a lack of trying. I really did. And then my friend Kyle, I was like, you know what? I've never understood how you can have a song in the key of C, but it can have an A minor chord and an F chord. Like I've looked at sheet music and never quite understood that. And he broke it down for me and he sat with me at the piano, and it just all of a sudden a puzzle piece got moved into the right place and it opened that up. And I was like, whoa. And writing my own songs opened that up, because then it was like learning, I loved doing it, and the passion would get me there for hours. And then
Mhm.
learning other people's songs and playing, oh, this song is just 4 chords, and every pop song is practically 4 chords. That opens up the world in a different way.
Mm.
So that was really like the connection point, because I was terrible before and I'm still not where I would like to be, but I am getting paid to perform piano and voice, and it feels amazing.
Easy. It was like demystifying
Refreshing.
for you.
Yeah.
It's like demystified that whole,
Yeah.
like, right? It seems so much
Oh,
bigger, and then when you finally
yeah.
start doing it, you're like, "Oh, okay, I think
Yeah.
I got this." Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but then
cool.
somebody asked me if I could play a show and do piano for myself, and I could have hired someone, but was like, "I'm gonna try this," and, you just take those little hurdles, and sometimes you fall on your face, but sometimes you surprise yourself and keep going, right? And you've been working on music for kids now, right?
So a long time ago, so as a kid, I always wrote music with my brother, and my
Fun.
brother Max, and we would have a tape player. So one of the things we would do is we would flip open the white pages of New York City, point to a name, and make up their life. Okay. And then we
Ah,
write songs about it. I do remember one name was
really cute.
Mousette Lipschitz. That was her name.
Can you say it again?
Mousette Lipschitz.
Mouse ad Lipschitz.
Okay.
I'm still thinking about Earl the Pearl, so maybe we'll revisit that.
Ah, God bless you, Earl of
I
Pearl.
really am.
So she was like a librarian by day and like a go-go dancer at night. I mean, we're like 8 and like 6, and these are the things we were like normally coming up with because it was silly. So we would make up these stories and we make up these songs, okay? And I mean, that was part of our life. We have like a
Mm.
refrigerator box and like a bowl of salted peanuts because we couldn't play outside. Okay. This was like, it was also like the 70s, as I said, and like Third Avenue was a bit
Yeah.
sketchy, like near us. So
Gotcha, yeah.
running around. So we did a lot in our living room. Fast forward, I go to college, da da da, and I come out of school and I become a musical theater performer. I wanted
Uh,
to do something else. So I did a ton of theater for young audiences as a
uh.
performer. And after a while, I'm like, I can write this. I can write this.
Hey, hey.
So
Why
I
not you?
why not me? I
Why
wound up
not
doing
you?
a lot of shows for children, and I
Aw.
went to Japan with the paper bag players, and I did a lot of touring and a lot of great things all over the city. But then I was like, I'm kind of tired of doing other people's shows. I mean, it's
Mm,
great, if that's what you want to do, but so I applied to the BMI musical theater writing workshop, which is very competitive, and I didn't
yeah.
get in. I didn't get in. I didn't get in. And I think either the third or fourth time I got in as a finalist and or like very close, and then they let me in as an auditor, and I'm like, this is great, I'll be an auditor. And the next week they're like, someone out, like,
Ah!
out of 9 or 6 composer lyricists, they chose me. And I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
hey bro. So
Also, let's point out, tried again, didn't get it. Applied again and just kept trying. I mean, resilience is the key. Why not you?
I had to bring in singers, not had to, I had the
Ah,
pleasure of bringing in singers that would sing in front of a panel. And I
yeah.
mean, I
I
got so
performed for that actually. That's so funny, as someone else's singer.
really, it's an
Yeah.
incredible experience. It
Yeah.
used to be on 57th Street. It was like,
Mm.
now I know it's downtown. And
Uh,
and so I got in. So for 2 years, I mean, I learned scansion, perfect rhymes, like miss accents. I mean, and they would say, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. And so the
Mm.
second year you do a 10-minute musical. And I wrote it with this guy, he's so awesome. At the end of my first year, Paul Fujimoto. And it was all about like in the subway. And I remember like we used like sound bites that you would hear in the subway.
Ah,
Like it was like $5, $5. And it was like, oh yeah, step back, I could feel your heat. Like stuff that was like very like we were trying to, he was a trumpet player, and he also was he was a b-boy. He was
huh.
from San Francisco. He was like a hip hop break dancer. And
Ah,
so I did come out of that with a collaborator, and I was all upset, and I didn't get into their advanced workshop. I think I was just having some personal struggles at the time, and there's like an advanced lifetime workshop which fueled my fire. I'm like, oh yeah, well then
yeah.
some years later, I was asked to be in someone's second year as their collaborator. So, like, I
Ah,
got to come back again as a
that's
second year. It was
amazing.
amazing. So it was like still a theme in my life, but I was always like working alone or collaborating with challenging persons. Or I adapted a book, and I do it like at camps, or like I went to a hospice near here, and I'm like, I'll just do this for. Maybe I'm not meant to do it like commercially. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna do it for like Chase's camp, or,
That's
you know,
beautiful.
beautiful, but also not lucrative. I'm like,
Wow. Wow.
yo. And then
Charitable.
I went to graduate school, and I'm licensed K through 12 to teach drama, but that was more also my parents urging. It just, I don't really want to be a theater teacher. I
Yeah.
loved it. It's beautiful, but still I had the fire. All
Yeah.
right. So I'm like, okay, I know I can compose. I am a composer
Mhm.
who doesn't compose on an instrument.
Yeah.
So I just started recording my voice and composing vocally. So I sent some to Chris RBC, our good
Uh-huh.
friend, who works for the Wall Street Journal as their,
That's
podcast
I didn't
engineer.
know that.
Yes, he's their like head podcast engineer. I'm not sorry, you're
Wow.
great, Chris. We love you.
Huh.
He just recorded one of my songs, did the backup, and it's amazing. But anywho, it's very spiritual, kind of like Christian pop, which is funny because
Huh.
I'm half Jewish. But
Ah.
I write this kind of like, there's this station K Love that I love because I cannot listen to upsetting news. I want to know what's going on.
Mhm.
Like if I'm in the car, I'm going to listen to Lauren Daigle. I'm like, my musical theater background lends itself to this Christian pop, and I feel it in
Mhm.
my heart. And my family goes to a Methodist church here, and I now
Oh,
I'm a pre-K teacher in this Methodist school.
I didn't
It's
know that.
yeah,
Aw.
2 years now. It's been beautiful. It's just morning,
Aw.
4-year-olds.
Huh.
But I want this music out there. We've sung my songs in this church. I think my entree is gonna
Mhm.
be being a songwriter in this capacity for adults, and then I'll say, "Oh, by the way, I write for kids, and also I write comedy songs because
Ha.
I also write
Yeah.
comedy songs are more just like for fun,
Yeah.
standalone. I don't see myself writing a comedy musical right now.
Are you releasing them? The comedy songs?
Am I releasing them?
Yeah. Or are they
Well,
released?
they're often for me, like, they're my
Huh.
kind of, like, my humor, me doing me.
Yeah.
So I don't know who else could do them. I mean, I did MC Mom, which was, like, about being, a
I feel
mom
like
of
this could be a whole TikTok channel, you know? Gabby's impersonations or Gabby's characters or something.
yes. Well, so that's I've applied for this UCB, scholarship, so that hopefully will Upright
Mhm.
Citizens Brigade, which is a collaboration with Saturday Night Live, so
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
see,
Let's
we'll see, so
that's okay, everybody keep their fingers crossed for that. How much do you use improv and voiceover auditions? Does that help? Has it helped you book in the past? Because you are so good at improvisation in that way.
thank you. So lately, I've been getting more and more requests in our auditions to do improv. So
Huh.
I think they'll be like talk for 2 minutes straight, or tell a story. That is where I have to pick. Like I picture talking to you or talking to a friend, and that's where I can imagine an audience. Imagine you have to. For me, if I'm just talking to the moon or talking to the
Mhm.
computer, no, I have to think of someone. I have to I have the stone right now. It's like I have to have an independent activity as an
Ah,
active wood that holds
that's a good trick.
it down here. I'm very like ADHD, OCD, so I need like as grounding. But if there's
Huh.
going on down here, it'll keep me engaged up here.
And so you keep a stone in your hand and you just let yourself kind of fidget with it while you're recording?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, or a bracelet or
That's a very
something.
good tip. That brings us to your incredible character, because I know I need to let you go in a couple minutes.
Yes.
Helga. I'm
Yes,
not gonna say it
hello.
correctly.
Oh my god. So Helga is please.
What was your inception? How did this come about? Because she's become such a persona, and I hope she's obviously in the SNL audition. She's got to be.
So people ask me for her all the time. I'm part Polish, and I think she's
No.
just kind of like a nondescript Eastern European Bloc character, my alter ego, to chronicle my health quest because I think it was easier to be like, "Hey guys, it's me. I'm trying to get it." So it was like a mask.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, "Hello." I put on like a snood. I had like a lunch lady hairnet, and
I remember this.
off. Like I'll go to my son's, like whatever scout thing. People are like, "Oh, I miss Helga. Could you do a Helga?" I'm like, "All right." Like I'm over Helga. I'm so
If
over
the
Helga.
people are asking for it, you gotta give them what it's that Venn diagram, right? Of like what you're good at, what people are asking for, and what you can get paid for.
No, you're right. And I sing as Helga a lot. So I do my improv singing as Helga from like the bathroom of the supermarket. That's
I
like
did
really
see that the other day.
sad what my life has become.
No, it's taking everything not so seriously. I recently listened to an interview on the Armchair Expert with Maya Rudolph, and she was talking about how she follows the joy. If she gets offered a project, they might say, "Oh, you're working with so and so," and she's like, "That's one of my best friends. We're gonna have fun the whole time. Yeah, I'll do it." And that's certainly worked for her, And I don't know. We can get really philosophical about like what's the point of it, life, right? Like we're here, we're in voiceover. We're trying to make money so we can buy our kids Annie's fruit snacks, but at the same time, like, make sure you're doing things you enjoy. Because I said to Carl, I was like, I love doing this podcast right now because I get to just sit and chat with people I love.
I brought it back. I'm so glad you brought it back. I got to watch your other episodes because that's how I found you with that woman Kelly. Because I was going down the rabbit hole. Like I'm like, find Kaylee's. I'm sure it's not that hard to find, but I'm like, I got to find her other ones to like be a good guest and research. But also, I love. I've been watching you for years do everything.
I've done other people's podcasts more than my own. I think, to be completely honest, and if anyone is listening to this, like, what happened? You did 3 episodes and then 2 years went by. I had a toddler, and also I made it so insurmountable to myself. I was like, ugh, editing. And, Gaby and I know you need to be able to edit your own vocals. Of course, for voiceover, because you need to be able to send good auditions, and sometimes you're editing a job on your own. But to me, that seemed very big. Editing the video seemed very big. Of an hour-long podcast, it just felt huge, and I made it very perfectionist. So I put it away for a little while, But here we are. I'm glad we're back.
I'm so glad you're doing it. It's a gift to the world. And I'm so blessed to be here. Literally.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you, friend.
That means a lot. So, okay, back to our how to get into voiceover topic. What advice do you have for someone who's just starting out? Because it is a different world these days, right? And we're lucky to still be in the game in that way.
It is. So I use Audacity. That's what I have on for me. I play around with Audacity, get very familiar with Audacity, maybe take a little online refresher, brush up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the preferred method. For me, I find it very user-friendly. That is what I record on.
Nobody knows what you're editing on. It all sounds the same. I still use GarageBand, and I will always do it.
I went to Guitar Center once and took a lesson in GarageBand, but for me, with my neurodivergence, I was like, oh, child, too many things and colors. I just like simple.
Yeah, so we all have our preferences.
People have different ways they can. Okay. I would research what you're drawn to when you're like competitive, as I can be like, I can do that Pringles spot. That person like me. So look what is making you say ding ding ding, I can do that. What makes you stretch and be like, can I sound like that? So if you're a male identifying person, be like, let me try that and just practice taking the breaths out, edit the breath. I edit the breaths out.
Do you? That's a great question, because truly today, and you might have auditioned for this one too, when you said talking for 2 minutes, I was like, I think let's just go like, this is clearly a commercial. It's an audition for McDonald's. Do you edit out the breaths or do you leave them in? Do you make it sound as radio ready, TV ready as possible, or do you let the humanity take a normal breath?
I'm more apt to take them out to make it as ready because
Ah.
that's doing them a service and a favor. So Roger Becker, it doesn't have to be a mystery,
Uh-huh.
had Just Voices and he had his own studio for many years in school. I took a
Mhm.
class with him probably in the early 90s. And
Ha!
then he had, if I'm correct, an office in his own spot.
Uh-huh.
So I just see someone who is also kind of an engineer. They're savvy, and
Mhm.
I think also, of course, Alyssa, that it makes if they have quick turnaround and maybe
Mhm.
they're used to having their engineer, their house person do it, why not
Mhm.
do it for them? Because I have glaring
Yeah.
I have glaring
Me
ones.
too. Sometimes I'm like, "Am I dying? Like, why are my breaths so
Gulps,
loud?"
gulps,
I
okay? So I think and I also oh my gosh, I edited for Audible. I
know.
took all the best out of, like, a 9-hour thing. So, like, I think,
Ah.
oh, child, accustomed to trying to do that. I don't always
Uh-huh.
do it. Sometimes I'm doing it
Uh,
before work at 8 AM, and I'm like, "Just
yeah.
send it." So I think I try, but it also
Interesting.
messes up the timing a little because then
Yeah.
it's like natural breath, then you're like, and then you
Yep.
take it, and it's like, you don't speak that fast. Well, I
Yeah,
do.
no. It depends on the spot, like, if they're looking for me, if they're looking for a very conversational and real person, I'm like, "I think I want them to know that I'm a human and put a breath in there." I don't know, and, like, you
We should
never
ask.
know. We should ask, but
Oh,
also
just ask Alyssa. We should ask her.
yeah. I've heard animation leaves the breath leave the breaths in, commercial take it out, but then sometimes in my commercial auditions lately, I'm leaving the breaths in so that it can just remind them that there's a human there. I've heard,
Interesting,
Pat
interesting.
Fraley had this little trick where he will rattle a piece of paper a little bit at the beginning, leave that in there so that they're reminded that it's a human being. Because they get so Caley Rose, da da da, Gabby Gold, da da da, da da da. Oh, why is that little sound in there? Which I think that is so risky,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because it's like an
Like,
error in a way. It's like you hitting the mic stand or something. So to me, I would be like, "No, you never leave that in."
are you not a perfectionist? Like, what are we
Right?
doing here?
He shares
Yeah.
that. And so you also kinda never know what did book me this job unless they tell you and they're really nice and they just say, "Hey, we liked this specific thing and that's what made you stand out." But I never wanna be needy and ask.
We're not really it's like one of those, like, you just never find out because people will be like, "When will you know if you got it?" I'm like, "Never,
Oh, yeah.
unless I book it." Um,
It could
another
call me tomorrow and say I booked it. It could call me 4 months from now and say I booked it. Like
where you can book it and then they're like, "Sorry, you didn't."
yep,
One helpful tip maybe for listener, watcher,
yeah.
viewer people is casting networks. They also list, voiceover
Mhm,
opportunities, which some you are a paid person on casting networks. I do pay for the
mhm.
subscription, and some I think may be just listed. So I don't really know enough about an unpaid
Uh-huh.
opportunity, but that's where some voiceover stuff is listed. I don't know about Actors Access anymore, but some
Yeah.
of those subscription places, you would probably need a demo or not.
Mhm,
I don't know. Maybe you could
mhm.
just send out auditions now.
I don't know. That's a good question. But no, I've gotten casting networks auditions through my agents.
Me too, but I
So,
think
yeah.
sometimes you can do it without
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
for voiceover,
Absolutely.
maybe,
That's but there are opportunities all over, right? There's voices.com, however you feel about that, all of those different things. So,
workshops,
interesting.
going to workshops. I paid for a good workshop. It was worth it. At
Yeah?
Paiva Productions. It was good.
Never heard of it.
Through Access. They're
Okay.
offering different Kristen Paiva.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Was it virtual animation?
yeah, yeah, it was like a
Okay.
Zoom-ish, I don't remember the platform, but she was
Uh-huh.
great. She brought in she did hers, but she brings in a lot of casting people and also people working steadily like in animation, and you can be an auditor or pay to be a participant, and
Uh,
who knows who. I mean, they're not going to guarantee you work that way, but
yeah, of course
it's a
not.
great way for newer persons to plunge in and be privy to the critiques so
Yeah.
that you can see what, oh, okay, that's a habit I might want to break.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really helpful, and I think it also helps to get FaceTime with casting directors and agents and stuff like that. In the beginning, I definitely felt like, "Oh, I shouldn't have to pay to meet people and pay," but it is a class, and I know there was that big controversy with some casting directors. I don't know, they came under fire for it for some reason.
Of
Remember
being
that? Yeah.
charging, like, have
Double
lessons.
dipping in a way?
They have
Yeah.
they have expertise. It's like,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
There's
Like,
stuff to learn, yeah.
last year, I know we're wrapping soon, but last year,
Yeah.
my son and I went to industry networks in LA,
Mm.
and we auditioned for 25 agents. That's how I wound up with my agent and also my singing teacher, who now I'm recording my, my music with.
It's working.
But so I just, my point being, if you become a lawyer, you got to pay for law school. Sometimes you got to pay to play, and it was worth it because I got incredible training and I went to grad school for something that I applied. Sometimes you pay for things and sometimes you need to just start your career and meet people. And I don't know. It depends on,
you pay for training, you pay for equipment. All right. What mic do you use? Last question.
Audio-Technica 2020.
Hey.
Year 5,000.
USB mic?
I use a USB mic.
Wow.
I plug it into my laptop. I don't have a preamp.
And Roger or Alyssa have never said, "Oh, this is an inferior quality," or anything. And what the heck, man?
PC is like, and I have Source Connect. I've only done one job on it. What are you? What
I literally got my bill today, and I was like, "Well, thank you, because you allowed me to record that last week." So this is an SM7B. Sure, I used to have a USB mic, but I worried. Basically, when someone tells me, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that," I'm very like, "Oh, okay, I need to get
I understand. Listen.
Yeah.
And you have a preamp interface thing, or what is that?
Yeah, I would pick it up, but I don't know what it would do to our sound right now. It's a Volt 276, relatively unaffordable. I used to be the kind of person who would be like, I need to pay as little as possible for everything in my life. And I recently, like truly, one of my best friends died of COVID in 2020, and he had such a great way of spending money. He lived his life. He would rent a convertible as a rental car. And I was just like always looking for the cheapest rental car. So it just showed me to enjoy and like invest in your equipment a little more. It really changed me.
Listen, my son and I just started doing that when we travel. He's like, Mom, you deserve to stay at the Embassy Suites. And listen, I don't mean to sound so like privileged.
No.
Saying where I'm like, take the class.
I deserve it.
I am in a position, I realized, of privilege where I can do a lot of the things I'm talking about. But I think investing in oneself, and the LA trip. It was the first time I went to LA, but I know. But I think
as a New Yorker, I need to know.
Upgrade. Well, I was only at the Sheraton Universal. So
you never left the hotel?
No, because we were there for literally a convention. And so we like walked one time somewhere, but we'll go back and explore more. But we were like every day we were in, workshops and auditions. So it was
so beautiful. Hey, LA's the city where dreams were made. And, that's how you got your agent and stuff. So we've clearly learned a lot from Gaby today. Thank you for doing this. Do you want Helga to say bye to us?
Oh, yes.
Do I want Helga to say goodbye to us?
So as Caley says, if we put our names together, we have the rose gold. And so I think we should have the necklace that says the best friends, and it's made of the rose gold, and one side is you and one side is me. So no matter where you're traveling in your shiny Twinkie.
I love you so much.
Love you so much.
See, she can just turn these characters on. Like, I would say what a natural, but I feel like that takes away from the effort and the energy that you put into studying your whole life, But yes, the way you make it seem so effortless is the result of who you are and the hard work that you have done. So you're fantastic. Everybody check out Gaby's social media. I'll put all the links in the description. And she has a Kickstarter that's coming out for her music. So do I actually. So we're kickstarting at the same time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. I adore you.
So grateful. Adore you right back.
Hey, this is Caley Rose again. And if you want to learn even more about how to get into voiceover, I have a course out called How to Get Into Voiceover, My Secrets to Six-Figure Voiceover Success. You can learn more about how to get into voiceover, what you need, how to find that ever so elusive voiceover agent, how to book auditions, how to find jobs, and more. You can also learn more about our special guest down in the show description below. Check it out.
So drop the wonder who's that girl.
Hey, this is Caley Rose again. And if you want to learn even more about how to get into voiceover, I have a course out called How to Get Into Voiceover, My Secrets to Six-Figure Voiceover Success. You can learn more about how to get into voiceover, what you need, how to find that ever so elusive voiceover agent, how to book auditions, how to find jobs, and more. You can also learn more about our special guest down in the show description below. Check it out.
Hey, I'm Caley Rose, and thank you so much for watching my video. If you like what you saw, subscribe.